Yo, tapping in real quick for this UFC 311. This fitting to take place this Saturday evening. It's going down at the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, California, where that main event is a long time in the making, highly anticipated rematch in the lightweight division between the current lightweight champion of the world, Islam Makhachev, and the current ranked number 3 lightweight contender in the world, Arman Tsarukyan. Man, shit, that co-main event's fitting to be a bang out in the bantamweight division. Also highly anticipated between the current bantamweight champion of the world, Merab Dvalishvili, the motherfucking machine, and the current ranked number 3 bantamweight contender in the world, Umar Nurmagomedov. Man, shit. That co-main event fitting to be a motherfucking firecracker in the light heavyweight division between the current ranked number 3 light heavyweight in the world, Yuri Prochazka, taking on the current ranked number 4 light heavyweight in the world, Jamal Hill. Man, that's going to be a motherfucking firecracker, man. I'm talking about fireworks from the start until the time that motherfucking finishes, because it's not going the distance. We not getting 15 minutes, and man, shit, that co-main event fitting to pop off and go the fuck crazy too, man. Huh? It's a bang out in the lightweight division. A bang out between 2 of the top 10 lightweight contenders in the world. The current ranked number 9 lightweight in the world, Beneil Dariush, taking on the current ranked number 7 lightweight in the world, Renato Money Moicano. Man, this card fitting to be a banger. The list just goes on. Y'all already know, man. I ain't gotta tell y'all nothing y'all don't already know, man. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. This video right here, this is the full card breakdown and predictions. I'll do my absolute best as not to hold y'all ear hostage for too long. But you already know how that goes, man. You know what I'm talking about? Now, I'm not necessarily sure what that lineup's going to be come fight night, but this is the one I have in front of me this evening, so this very much so is the one we're going to rock with. You know what I'm talking about? Let's go ahead and dive into it, man. First fight of the night, Tagir Ulanbekov taking on Clayton. Tagir Ulanbekov currently ranked number 12 in the world in this division. Clayton, currently ranked number 29, undefeated, and looking to creep up the rankings if he's able to squeak a win out here. You know what I'm talking about? Tagir, ranked number 12, currently sitting at a minus 278 favorite. Clayton's a plus 215 underdog. You know what I'm talking about? And, the pick is Tagir. This is not a fight that I want anything to do with. This is not a fight that I will have a whole lot of action on unless we're talking about, prelim parlays, maybe some all-favorite parlays. He's going to find his way into that lineup. You know what I'm talking about? A haymaker or a Hail Mary for the whole card type situation. Other than that, nowhere near my main plays, my main parlays. You know what I'm talking about? Not locked up in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We have to be honest. There are question marks there. Clayton is another young man who likes to implement a heavy wrestling and grappling game. He likes to implement an all-around body of work. You understand what I'm saying to you? And, Tagir has faced an individual like that in the past in Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott likes to implement an all-around body of work. Tim Elliott is very active. You know what I'm talking about? Very solid and very well-rounded in every fucking department. And he blew Khabib's top that night. I mean, Khabib was losing his motherfucking shit when Tim was able to lock up and secure those couple takedowns that he was able to lock up and secure over the course of those 15 minutes to squeak out that decision. You understand what I'm saying to you? So it is not outside the realm of possibility that Clayton's going to be able to come in here and do the same thing. But with that being said, Tim Elliott is an OG, man. He is a crafty UFC OG veteran that knows how to get shit done. You understand what I'm saying to you? And everybody from over there is not Khabib. You know what I mean? They just aren't, man. So Tagir's the pick at minus 278. Not in love with that price tag. You know what I mean? And it just is what it is, man. With all due respect to Clayton, he has some proven grounds that need to be covered over here inside the UFC. Proven grounds that Tagir has already covered, you know what I mean? We know the level of opposition that Tagir Ulanbekov is, who he belongs competing against, you know what I'm talking about? And the same can't really be said about Clayton as of yet. This is going to be his biggest test, but I do not expect him to pass it. You know what I mean? And it's really nothing to frown on. Tagir's no champion. He's no championship material. That rank number 12, like, it's not a whole lot that he's going to do up here in the, you know, if up in the top 10, if he creeps into the top 10. Definitely nothing in the top 5. He's not championship material. He's just a solid individual. He's well-rounded, and he comes from over there, from that team. You know what I mean? And from that family. So we may, some of us may, place higher expectations on that young man than, you know, he deserves. Moving on, man. My bad. Tagir's the pick. You know what I'm talking about? You know, to stuff the incoming takedowns. You know, possibly snatch something up when Clayton does go for a takedown, or just to keep this fight upright and produce the better body of work over the course of 15 minutes, man. You know, land the solid, more significant shots, in my personal opinion, to be determined, man. I'm just not high on Tagir. I'm not high on him, you know what I mean? While on the other side, I'm not high on Clayton at all, in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm not shitting on him. I'm not going to disrespect him and act like it's outside the realm of possibility for him to come in here and squeak out a win if he's able to implement his game. You know what I mean? Just don't like this fight, man. Tagir's the pick. Tagir is the pick, man. Ricky versus Sopaj. Ricky Torcios versus Bernardo Sopaj, or however you say old boy's name. Ricky Torcios is currently a plus 265 underdog, and Sopaj is a minus 345 favorite. And I have I've been back and forth on this one like a motherfucker, man. You know what I'm talking about? I've been back and forth on this one like a motherfucker, man. I don't, you know, I kind of feel like I'm disrespecting Ricky going against Ricky, man. You know, we look at Ricky and we look at the run that Ricky's had, the roller coaster of a ride that he's been on since being in the UFC, but that's still a ride that's been over, you know, that's been here in the UFC. Old boy hopped on his first ride, you know, his debut. He lost that inside the distance. Now, I get it. He was looking good. He wasn't winning that fight. He wasn't winning that fight via decision. Vinicius was locking up his own takedowns, you know what I'm talking about, producing his own body of work that was just a bit better than Sopaj's absolutely everywhere. In my personal opinion, he was edging him absolutely everywhere on his way to a, you know, split majority or possibly unanimous decision, and he just happened to find the finish clip and disconnect old boy from his consciousness before it went to the decision. So I don't think Sopaj was winning that fight anyway, you know what I mean? But that's just me. That's what I took away from that fight. You know what I'm talking about? So he's 0-1 in his UFC run. Ricky's 2-3 in his UFC run. But if we look at who he lost to, we have to ask ourselves how good would Sopaj fare up against those individuals. Raul Rosas Jr., who is 5-1 in the UFC. You know what I'm talking about? This is who Ricky's losing to. He's 2-3, but one of his 3 losses is Raul Rosas, who's 5-1 in the UFC. That's nothing to frown on this young man about. We don't know how well Sopaj would fare in the cage with Raul Rosas Jr. To be determined. You know what I'm talking about? Amin Zahabi. Amin Zahabi is 6-2 in the UFC. Both of these two individuals, very solid, very well-rounded. You know what I'm talking about? Have proven that they can be very dangerous when properly, matched up against a certain level of opposition. So losing to Raul Rosas Jr., who's 5-1 in the UFC, and losing to Amin Zahabi, who's 6-2 in the UFC, you know, that's nothing to frown about. Now, we could do without the Boston Simon, or whatever that one. You know what I mean? Boston Simon was like 1-2 in the UFC, 0-3 in the, something stupid. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe he was 0-3 in the UFC. We can do without that loss right there. You know what I mean? And then his wins, Brady Heinstein. Brady Heinstein's 3-1 in the UFC for what it's worth. That one loss, it comes to Ricky Torcios. And then Kevin was 0-3 in the UFC. So there's nothing to call home about, man. It's just the level of opposition that Ricky's been competing against as of yet has been better, than what Sopaj has been competing up against. So all of that makes me want to not disrespect Ricky and rock with him, because he's going to be very active. Like the volume and all that activity and all that nut shit he be doing, noises he be making, he's going to be the more active fighter, but he's going to probably be the more sloppy fighter, the more reckless fighter too, Where Sopaj is going to be a bit more of a technical practitioner in there. He's outreached significantly, and he's out, the height. There's a height disadvantage and a reach disadvantage. I believe he's at like a 5-inch reach disadvantage, But that's where that wrestling's going to come into play, in my personal opinion. While Ricky has been in here 2-3 in the UFC. Old boy's 0-1 in the UFC. Ricky has been in here up against a higher level of opposition as far as who he's been competing up against. But that takedown defense is suspect, man. And Sopaj got some pretty good entries and some pretty good top game. And I think Ricky will, accept the bottom a bit more than he should. Maybe possibly searching for a submission or trying to, put Sopaj in a compromisable position, try to find his way to a dominant position, through some kind of a transition by threatening with the submissions. Who the fuck knows what he's going to do down there, but I think he's going to spend a little bit too much time on his back down there. Allow old boy to rack up some control time, land some good shots, possibly put him into a couple compromisable positions, and when it's up on the feet, just be the more technical practitioner, Produce the better all-around body of work over the course of 15 minutes and kind of make this one look, maybe he finds the finish inside the distance, man. Kind of make it look like, Fatima Klein. She was 0-1 in the UFC, taking on Victoria. Victoria was what, 3-1 in the UFC or 2-1 in the UFC. She had been competing against a higher level of opposition as of yet, for what it's worth, but she has some holes in her game that Fatima can exploit. So while I feel like Ricky's been facing, I know he's been facing a higher level of opposition as of yet, and I don't, I feel like I don't want to disrespect him by going against him because of that. The holes in his game that he has, I feel like Sopaj can fill them in, and maybe he finds the finish inside the distance, and if so, we'll take that. But I'm going to take him to get this one done via unanimous decision. Unanimous decision, 2 rounds to 1. Know what I mean? My bad. I went all over the place with all that, what I'm talking about, but that's what the quick picks are. When I upload this, the quick picks are coming in, and anybody that don't want to sit through my bullshit, that's what those 15-second clips are for. You know what I'm talking about? But, yeah, so far we got Tagir at -278. Ranked number 12, taking on Clayton, +215, currently ranked number 29. We're rocking with Tagir. There's Ricky at +265, taking on Sopaj at -345, and we're rocking with Sopaj. Now we got Rinya Nakamura at -400, and he's taking on Munoz. Muin. You know who I'm talking about, you know what I mean? And I'm rocking with Nakamura, man, I'm not even going to sit here and say, with all due respect to Muin, not high on that guy in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Don't think there's anything spectacular or special about him. Don't think he's really, I don't think he's really that great of a mixed martial artist, man. You know what I mean? He's solid where he's solid, and he's not where he's not. It just is what it is. I think Rinya Nakamura is solid absolutely everywhere. He's well-rounded, and he's going to implement an all-around body of work that's going to overwhelm Muin, however you say old boy's name. I feel like Rinya's going to be able to overwhelm him, keep the pace on him, keep the pressure on him, land the cleaner shots, the crisper shots, the more significant shots, and possibly find a finish inside the distance, however it presents itself, via KO, TKO, from clipping and disconnecting old boy from his consciousness, from the club and sub type situation, from catching, clipping him, and then hopping on him, or, possibly just by getting this thing down to the ground, finding this submission after searching for it for a minute or two, sinking it in, locking it up, and getting him out of there inside the distance that way. this thing goes the distance, if we get a full 15 minutes, it's Rinya Nakamura via unanimous decision, 30-27, in my personal opinion. You know what I'm talking about? This is an individual who, you know, he's been properly matched up. And they continue to properly match him up in what I believe is an attempt to creep him up closer to the rankings where they can put him with some individuals that are gonna really put him, you know, put his game to the test and you know, promote some problems. There's some individuals that are gonna be very problematic for Nakamura. You know what I'm talking about? But he's got to find his way. They're level, you know, they're a level or two away from him right now. He's got to get off this level with the Mewans and, you know, the individuals that he's been matched up with so far. And he's got to find his way a little bit further up into the rankings. And he's going to be, you know, that's where he's going to find his potholes, his speed bumps, and he's going to start to run into some roadblocks, and the O's going to go. And, you know, we'll start to have some other conversations, man. But right now, I believe he's a solid pick. You know what I mean? About as safe as it gets for the most part, man. You know, for what it's worth. Moving on. Fourth fight of the night, women's MMA. Tread lightly. We have ranked number 10. She is holding it down at the top. You know, the top 10, she's holding it down right there. She's got that 10th spot. Aylin, she's coming in at number 11. So to think she's not going to give absolutely everything she has to not only, you know, shake that ass when the fight's over, but to snatch that motherfucking number 10 spot, you'd be out your fucking mind. You would be absolutely out of your fucking mind. I want nothing to do with this fight, not in any way, shape, form, or fashion, man. Carol, ranked number 10, is minus 195. Aylin, ranked number 11, is plus 155. Carol is the pick for me. God, everything's telling me Aylin should be the pick. But I'm going to stick with Carol, man. Ranked number 10 up against ranked number 11. This thing's going to be highly competitive, closely contested. I mean, this is going to be a fucking dog fight. You know what I mean? And both of these young women can fucking scrap. I just think that Carol Hoser, however you say Carol's name, I believe her to be just a bit more of a technical practitioner on the feet and a bit more just, you know, I don't want to say all the way, just more well-rounded than Aylin, because Aylin can be problematic everywhere, man. Her pressure, the momentum that she's riding, you know what I mean, how she feels, that confidence, you know. This is gonna be a motherfucker right here. You know, it's the women's MMA, man. It was women's MMA last weekend. Hebas versus Dern. And anybody who's tapped all the way in knows when Hebas versus Dern was originally slated to take place, Hebas Dern 2, I posted my shit, I was all over Dern, right? And then that fight got canceled. And I went back and readjusted. And I came back in, and when it was rescheduled, I took Hebas, and I should have just went with my gut. You know what I mean? And we would have found ourselves, you know, 12-2 on the 14 card instead of 11-3 because I wouldn't have got off my other picks, man. You know, Ponzi had to show me that. Ponzi had to show me that, man. You know what I mean? Because Ponzi has not shown me much in such a long time. His best years were from like 2013 to 2018. He hasn't shown me, you know, a whole lot in a long while. You feel what I'm saying to you? That I would have just, you know, Carlston was going to be my pick. And Magomed over Bruno, that was going to be my pick. You know what I mean? I thought Bruno was going to be on the receiving side of Magomed's offensive wrestling and grappling before he put Magomed on the defensive side of his offensive wrestling and grappling, tired him out, and just proved him to be absolutely nothing after that. So I wouldn't have got off those picks, though. I'd have probably no matter what I did, I'd have still picked Carlston over Ponzi, and I would have still picked Magomed over Bruno, and it would have just been those two. But I readjusted and came back with the Amanda joint, so 11-3. We're gonna see if we can get a little bit better this go around. You know what I'm talking about? Women's MMA be fucking me up, man. I don't want nothing to do with this fight, not in any way, shape, form, or fashion, not even from a betting or parlaying perspective, not even on a haymaker or a Hail Mary, not a haymaker for the motherfucking prelims. If I'm doing a haymaker for the prelims, it's 7 fights, not 8 fights. I'm not touching this fight. You understand what I'm saying to you? A Hail Mary for the whole card. You know, I'm not touching this motherfucker. I don't want nothing to do with this fight, man. I don't want nothing to do with this fight, man. Something's telling me A-Lin might get this one done via split decision and just start, you know, twerking and going crazy in that motherfucker. Fuck, man. We're going to come back to this women's MMA. Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. Grant, minus 335 favorite, currently ranked number 15 in the world as far as lightweights are concerned. Diego, currently ranked number 18, a plus 250 underdog. I get it, you know, as far as individuals that are on the side of Diego, Diego can crack. If Diego has not showed us anything else in the past, he has shown us that. If he catches you cleanly, if he catches and clips you cleanly, he can disconnect you from your consciousness in brutal fashion too. You understand what I'm saying to you? And Grant Dawson showed us that he can be caught and clipped cleanly and disconnected from his consciousness in brutal fashion when King put hands on him. You know what I'm talking about? I personally believe Grant learned from that and won't, you know, allow Diego to get anything like that off. I think he's going to overwhelm him. I think he's going to smother him. I think he's going to just implement an all-around better body of work. I think he's going to really be searching for the submission and trying to keep this one on the ground because he knows he can get put under, and he knows Diego can do, you know, do the putting the motherfucker under. You know what I'm talking about? So it's a scary, it's a risky fight, man. It's a risky fight. But just like, you know, Grant was caught, clipped, and disconnected from his consciousness and then came back with a fury. You know what I'm talking about? You know, if we just gonna write him off because he was caught, clipped, and disconnected from his consciousness by, you know, Bobby King Green, so maybe he can get caught, clipped, and disconnected from his consciousness by Diego Ferreira. Why the fuck is everybody not writing Islam off? He got caught, clipped, and disconnected from his consciousness by a motherfucker whose record is just shit as far as who he's been up against prior to Islam and since Islam. So anything can happen at any given time on any given fight night when that motherfucking cage closes. You understand what I'm saying to you? But I just have decided, you know, that Grant, he learned from his mistakes and he's not going to allow himself to be caught cleanly like that. Not by Diego. I think he's going to smother him. Diego's dangerous on the fucking ground too, so that smothering, that's a double, you know, that shit can go both ways. It can play for him, it can play against him. He's got to stay safe absolutely everywhere in this matchup. But I'm still picking Grant Dawson. You know what I mean? He's got to stay safe, man. It just is what it is. He's got to stay safe when he implements that all-around body of work and starts locking up, you know, takedowns and shit when he's wrestling and grappling and he's in close in those exchanges and he's entangled with Diego. He's got to stay safe when they're on the ground. He's got to stay safe on the feet at range. He's got to stay safe, man. He's got to stay safe. It's a dangerous fucking fight for Grant Dawson. The money line might not tell you that, but it's a dangerous fucking fight for Grant Dawson, man. I'm rocking with him, though. I'm rocking with him. We got Zach. This is the fight. This is one of my most interesting fights on the card. Like I like this fight, man. Fuck the name value. I don't give a fuck about it. I know it ain't nobody. It ain't, you know what I mean? We ain't got no gats in there, no vets in there. One might think, you know, fuck is you hype about for? It's a bunch of nobodies in there. Whatever, man. These two nobodies match up very fucking well. Their frames, their physicalities, they long, they lanky. You know, they both fill out their long and lanky frames. Maybe Zach fills his out just a bit more. I feel like Zach's a bit dangerous. Yeah, a bit more dangerous absolutely everywhere. But I'm not sleeping on Cedricus. You know what I'm talking about? Zach is a minus 275 to Cedricus is plus 210. And I like Zach to get this one done. I like Zach to get this one done via unanimous decision, 2 rounds to 1, just by implementing an all-around better body of work absolutely everywhere, man. And possibly hurting Cedric a couple times over the course of 15 minutes, man. You know? He might find a finish, too. He might find a finish. But if he doesn't, I like him to win this one via unanimous decision. 2 rounds to 1. Cedric might have a moment in there in one of those rounds and edge one out. It's very possible, but I think Zach gets this one done. And I'm not going to say with relative ease, but that may very well be the case, man. You know what I'm talking about? And fuck it, give me rank number 3, Aylin Perez, man. I'll take the dog, man. It's women's MMA. I don't want anything to do with this shit anyway. I don't give a fuck who wants to tap in and rain down on me about that pick. It means absolutely shit to me, and I won't argue it in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Aylin Perez is going to be the pick, though. Carol has had some close encounters, especially as of lately. They both have. It's going to be highly competitive. It's going to be closely contested. I just think one of them's going to edge it. Both of their names are going to get wrung out at the end of it. Boop and boop. And one of them's going to get the nod via split or majority decision, in my personal opinion. You know what I'm talking about? If any fight on this card goes to a draw, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. This would be one of them, because I think there's another one. So since I backtrack, Aylin's the pick. Aylin, if I'm not mistaken, is the first dog, right? Renya, Aylin, dog, yeah. Grant, Zach, yeah, okay. So there we go. That's our first dog. It's women's MMA, for what it's worth. I don't want shit to do with it, but that's our first dog. So Tagir at minus 278 over Clayton. Sopaj at minus 345 over Ricky. Nakamura at minus 400 over Mewen. Aylin at plus 155 is our first dog over Carol. Grant at minus 335 over Diego at plus 250. I do not like that price tag. I do not like this fight, man. I just hope I am right as far as Grant learning from his mistakes, filling in his holes, and not being too overly confident when it comes to stepping in the cage with this young man. So we were Grant at minus 335 over Diego, and we are with Zach at minus 275 over Cedricus, which was at plus 210 if I didn't say that already. If I did, I just said it again. You know what I'm talking about? You know I'll be down with that getting redundant. I'll be redundant as a motherfucker. How redundant was I the last 4 weeks about Christian Rodriguez? Huh? You cannot get any more redundant than how I was about... I mean, I posted so many clips, Big Pun with the Beware in the background. I posted all his stat. I mean, everything I could possibly do. If you or anybody still chose to rock with the Bashi side, that's a self-inflicted wound, man. I did my due diligence. I did the best I could do to bring you this side. We had 3 dogs back. 3 dogs barked back to back to back. That was beautiful work to watch, man. The way they positioned them on the card, that was fucking crazy. Philippe just came out there and locked that thing up on Jose. 1 dog barked. You know what I'm talking about? At plus 143. Then Puna came out and knocked the fucking Euros the fuck out. Boom. 2nd dog barked at plus 190. And then Christian came out and did what Christian's supposed to do. 3rd dog barked at plus 210. Oh my God, man. And those 3 was wrapped in with Cesar Almeida and Roman Kopylov. That 5-pack went crazy, man. You know what I'm talking about? My 6-pack, not so much, though. Of Carlston shot that smooth out the water. He shot a 4-pack and a 5-pack out the water for me too, raggedy motherfucker. But you know, lessons learned and all that, I know better. Just like out here in the streets in the world, sometimes it costs you something to see where a motherfucker's really at. Solid. Move it on, man, move it on. Heavyweight MMA. We have the current ranked number 6 heavyweight in the world, Jay Alton Almeida. That's wild. Ranked number 6. Taking on current ranked number 10 heavyweight in the world, Sergey Spivak. That's wild, man. It's wild to see Jay Alton Almeida. That motherfucker's lost. You know what I mean? He got fucking handled by, you know, he got put out by Curtis Blade. You know, and I think it's wild because Sergey been a heavyweight. Sergey been a heavyweight. Where we at? Where we at? Sergey 8-4 in the UFC. You know what I'm talking about? Jay Alton 8-1 in the UFC, but 5-1 as a heavyweight. You know what I'm talking about? So it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? He got 6 fights as a heavyweight. Sergey got 12 fights as a heavyweight. The only motherfucker Sergey is lost to, I mean, come on, Cyril Gane at the time that he fought him, Tom Aspinall, that's Tom Aspinall, and Marcin Tybura. Like, when he fought Marcin Tybura, he came back, though, and fought Marcin Tybura again and got that, you know, got him up out of there like that via submission. And then Walt, we could do without Walt. We could do without the Walt loss. With all due respect to Walt, you know what I mean? I fought with Walt, you know, and Walt was, Walt's been through some things, man. You know what I mean? Peace and blessings to Walt and his family. You know what I mean? But with all due respect, we could do without that loss. But other than that, Cyril, Tom, and Marcin, you can't really frown on those losses. Sergey Spivak, the polar bear, is a motherfucking savage, man. And you know, not for nothing else, man. Not for anything else, but the last legitimate, you know, legitimate heavyweight in Curtis Blades. And granted, it's Curtis Blades, but Curtis Blades is a heavyweight that, you know, is very solid in that wrestling and grappling department. You understand what I'm saying to you? Jay Alton Almeida, you know, not so much so at this weight class with somebody who's going to give that resistance. You understand what I'm saying to you? The Biggie Boy win doesn't impress me, man. You know what I mean? The Biggie Boy win doesn't impress me. The Alexander Romanov win doesn't impress me. The Derek Lewis win really doesn't impress me because not only, yeah, you went out there and you took down Derek Lewis, but you took down Derek Lewis in a 5-round fight, 25 minutes. You took him down multiple times and controlled him for like 21 or 22 of those 25 minutes and couldn't find a finish inside the distance. That's saying a lot, man. Because Derek Lewis, while he, you know, he's head and shoulders and doesn't have much of a neck, and you know, he's sound on the ground as far as his defense. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. 22 minutes of control time or whatever on a Derek Lewis, and you can't find the finish, you know, and then you go in there with a Curtis Blades and you see what happens to you. When you get in there with a heavyweight that knows how to wrestle and is going to give you resistance in that department, then you're left with, you know, the real mixed martial artist in you. And how does he fucking perform? And I don't know how well he's going to do against Sergey, man. The polar bear is nobody's chump. He's a legitimate heavyweight. You know what I'm talking about? Who's been in there with the best of the best in the heavyweight division. You understand what I'm saying to you? And very solid, very well-rounded. Not just in the wrestling and the grappling department, in the jiu-jitsu department, and on the feet. I could see him knocking Jay Alton Almeida the fuck out after Jay Alton Almeida tires himself out a bit. I could see him submitting Jay Alton Almeida, possibly pounding him out from top position. Not silverback shit, polar bear, just just get him the fuck up out of there. Sergey Spivak's the pick for me. Give me another dog, man. You gonna give me Sergey Spivak at plus 300? I'm taking him. I'm taking him because I'm not a believer that Jay Alton Almeida can go in there and ragdoll Sergey Spivak. I don't think Only he can go in there and throw Sergey Spivak around. People don't just throw Sergey Spivak around. Throw Sergey down on the ground and hold Sergey down on the ground. That's what Sergey does. And Sergey tips the fucking scales at 260-something pounds, man. You know what I'm talking about? And, you know, if he's in the best shape of his life, he's not cutting weight, and he's coming in at like 259 to 262 pounds. You know what I'm talking about? And who knows, the best shape of his life right now, you know, this is, you know, and he's only 29. He's only 29, entering his prime. I know Jay Alton is 33, 34 in his prime, but I don't know that a prime time Jay Alton can beat a prime time Sergey, because he's not a better mixed martial artist. You know what I'm talking about? And this is a legitimate heavyweight that he's not going, it's not Alexander Romanov who you're going to be able to motherfucking eventually get his big ass on down to the ground, and it's going to be hard for him to get up. You know, I've been off of, I ain't been a fan of him since his, you know, Juan Espinot, whatever the fuck, that dumbass, how that fight was going down. Juan was beating him, in my personal opinion. You know what I'm talking about? Then the dumbest shit happens. You feel me? So, like, I have not been a fan of Romanov since then. So, tossing Romanov doesn't do nothing for me. Derek Lewis, it doesn't do nothing for me in the wrestling and grappling. And Biggie Boy, that does nothing for me. You understand what I'm saying to you? Get in there with a heavyweight that will give you resistance in that department. That's Curtis Blades, and we saw how that shook out. Now, Sergey's not Curtis Blades. One thing has nothing to do with the other, but it's all worth consideration in my personal opinion, and I just don't know how good Jay Alton Almeida's wrestling, jiu-jitsu, grappling, and all of that transfers up here in the heavyweight division with legitimate heavyweights that tip the scales at 260-some pounds, and that's their game as well. You know what I'm talking about? They like to implement the wrestling and grappling. They like to hold a motherfucker down, throw a motherfucker around, put him up against the cage and drag a motherfucker out. I don't know that he's going to do too well against Sergey in that department. And then, if that's the case, maybe Sergey gets the best of it and ends up on top of him, or maybe Sergey just keeps this thing upright and it's, you know, it's a fucking fight. And in that case, I think Sergey's the better fucking fighter. At range, with the strikes, I don't think Jay Alton Almeida's that fucking great, man. You know what I'm talking about? But that's just me, and that's my personal opinion, man. And I grappled with that one, you know, back and forth with that one as well. But it's heavyweight MMA. I don't want anything to do with it. Just like women's MMA, just like the first fight of the night. You know what I'm talking about? I don't want anything to do with this motherfucker, not in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Motherfuck this fight on Saturday night. You know what I'm talking about? But Sergey Spivak is the pick, and that's the second dog, man. That's the second dog, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I'm talking about? So Aylin, she was the first. Sergey, he's the next. You know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna do that like that. I almost put that shit on the wrong name. Had to scratch that out. Next fight, man. We at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the last fight on the prelims. This is the prelim headliner. You know what I'm talking about? Let's talk about it, man. We have the biggest favorite on the card, minus 1,000. When I wrote this down for Peyton, currently a minus 1450. Right before I did this, when I was looking at some shit, which is fucking ridiculous. Hayoni Barcelos was left as a plus 700, but with old boy being a minus 1450, I'm pretty sure he's probably like a plus 850 now. You know what I'm talking about? And that's just crazy. That's crazy. Because, you know, Peyton's the pick. Let's not get it fucked up. Hayoni Barcelos' best days are behind him, in my personal opinion. Still very dangerous, still very solid, very well-rounded, and can be very dangerous if, you know, placed in there against the proper level of opposition. Peyton's not it. Peyton's going to be a bit too much for him, in my personal opinion, and he's probably going to wrap him up and find a submission or put him in multiple compromisable positions over the course of 15 minutes. Hayoni's just a bit too stiff. You know what I'm talking about? The movement, the all-around mobility of his body. I think this is a very bad stylistic matchup, but I don't believe anybody in the UFC should be over the minus 1,000 money line. And that does absolutely nothing for your parlay, unless you're taking him to win via submission or taking him to win in the method section via knockout, or maybe possibly whatever the double chance is for KO, TKO, or submission. You know what I mean? I don't want anything to do with this fight, man. I'm interested to see how it plays out and if he comes anywhere near justifying his price tag, because when you're a minus 1450, you better have this fight done inside the first 4 minutes and 50 seconds. It better not touch round 2. You know what I'm talking about? Or you better win this motherfucker by complete obliteration. You just can't find the finish. He's too tough. He's too durable. You place him in multiple compromisable positions. You bumblebee the eyes up. You go 100% on your takedowns. You're in the 90% on your strikes. Like you just put on a masterclass and dog walk his ass 30-27. No questions asked about it. If you're not doing, that's the only way, in my personal opinion, you justify a crazy price tag like that with it going to the decision. That's the only way you can be like, well, you know, he did go 6 out of 6 on takedowns and, you know, 182 out of 219 on strikes and 77 out of motherfucking 193 on significant. You know, everything was in like the 90%. I mean, he did everything he could do to get him out of there. He just couldn't finish, old boy. Maybe you could say that justifies a price tag like that, but even then, for me, I'm stubborn. No, it doesn't. He should have finished him. He can't find the finish with all that work. He still can't find the finish. Price tags are just crazy to me, man. Because I'll say it again like I've said it a million times before. He's a minus 1450. John Jones was never minus a 1450 against anybody. Neither was Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva. Before that, the Rich Franklins, the Matt Hugheses. You know what I'm talking about? Like these BJ Penns. Like nobody's ever had price tags. None of these goats, these people that we call goats, none of them have ever had price tags placed next to their respectable names like we put next to these unproven prospects. That shit is fucking ridiculous, man. Peyton's the pick, though. On to the main card, y'all. They spoiling us right now. We gonna be complaining in a few weeks about cancellations and 11 fight and 10 fight motherfucking cards. We gonna be crying like little baby bitch ass motherfuckers, man. And they're giving us 2 weeks with 28 fights in 2 weeks, 2 14 fight cards. Old boy slid out of the Bogdan Gustav fight, and they said, no, you won't. Somebody get on over here and take Bogdan off. We getting these 28 fights in 14 days. They spoiling us right now. We gonna be crying like some bitches when they start canceling and pulling out and shit start looking like 10 fights, 11 fights, or we got an 11 fight card and 2 get canceled, so it's 9 fights, you know what I mean? Oh my God, motherfuckers are gonna be going banini like they didn't give us 28 fights in 14 days, man. Cherish this shit. And it's fucking good fights too. Come on, man. I'm taking Bogdan over Billy, though. I don't even know the fuck who a Billy is. Billy boy, you got some proving to do, and I think they gave you the wrong dude to come and try to do it through. You know what I'm talking about? Bogdan's gonna bang on him. Bogdan is like, fuck is his name? I forget it. Every time I'm ready to say this motherfucker's name, it's who Bogdan reminds me of. Granted, he looked like a motherfucking, you know, a version of Anthony Smith. I'm not talking about what he looked like. I'm talking about what his body of work looks like and the way he moves. He reminds me of, Volkan Ozdemir. There it goes right there. There it was. Bogdan Gustav reminds me of a Volkan Ozdemir. You know, Volkan might look a little cleaner with it, maybe, you know. He's a bit more experienced, but they very similar to me. The way that they, you know, they'll walk your motherfucking ass down, confidence in their motherfucking chin, rip to your motherfucking body, and then come, like the way that they, you know, approach the fight. You know what I'm talking about? Is very fucking similar. To me, anyway, in my personal opinion. But what the fuck do I know? You know what I mean? Bogdan reminds me of, you know, like a Anthony Smith looking like he's stuck in Volkan Ozdemir's, you know, body. He just moves like, he looked like a pasty-ass motherfucking Anthony Smith, but he moved and he hit like a motherfucking Volkan Ozdemir. You know what I mean? Their frames are a bit different. Volkan's a probably a little bit more compact. Bogdan probably got a longer torso, you know what I mean? So not in that aspect, just the way they move though, the way they fight, the way they crack, you know what I'm talking about, the way they approach their opponents and all that. I think it's similar. He remind, you know, I get hints of him when I'm watching him. I'm getting hints of, you know, when Volkan Ozdemir first came into the UFC and was making his way up the rankings. That's what Bogdan reminds me of. And I think Bogdan's going to body Billy Boy on Saturday, y'all. So Bogdan's the pick at minus 300. And Billy can sit over there at plus 250 in the dog, with the dogs, man, that aren't going to bark. Put a muzzle on them. You know what I'm talking about? Let's get spicy, man. We got Kevin Holland versus De Ritter. I don't really know how to say old boy's first name. De Ritter. De Ritter. I don't like going with these motherfuckers that just came over here. You know what I mean? Not in any way, shape, form, or fashion, man. You know? I think while De Ritter and Venom Page, they're both very solid, very well-rounded, and have accumulated some very respectable careers. The resume, as far as those careers, you know, depending on who you're talking to, I guess. But still, with that being said, I feel like why they are still solid and very well-rounded, and probably very much so still in their prime, they're at the end of it. You know what I mean? They're not coming into their prime. You know, Michael Venom Page and De Ritter. They're not coming into their prime. You know, they're not prime time. They're on their way out. They on their last legs of their prime. You know, they came over here a bit too late for a motherfucker like me to really want to get behind them in any way, shape, form, or fashion. As far as all of, you know, all of this is concerned, man. But if not for anything else, D. Ritter, or however you say it, he's a legitimate middleweight. Kev not so much so. Kev belongs at 170, man. I know he's long, he's lanky, and he's, you know, as far as his height and his reach, he has the height and reach of a light heavyweight. You know, there's light heavyweights that don't have his height and his reach, but, you know, he just don't fill that frame out. You know what I mean? He's fucking frail, let's be honest, man. He's long, he's lanky, he can fucking crack. He can crack. He's dangerous absolutely everywhere. Not shitting on him. He's just not a legitimate, you know, middleweight. You know what I mean? He's not a legitimate 185er, man. You know, them boys were able to do what they wanted to do with him for the most part. He can't implement his, you know, his jiu-jitsu as efficiently. No wrestling or grappling. And his strikes just don't carry the same, you know, pop up there that they do down at 170. The Ritter's, you know, he's a legitimate 185. That big motherfucker could fight at 205, in my personal opinion. He fills out his funny built frame. You know what I mean? And as much as I don't like him, I don't know that Kevin's going to be able to do much with him. Kevin's not a high volume striker. Kevin's somebody who just kind of sits back and picks his shots. You know, he likes to counter. He likes to 1-2 down the pipe. He'll rip to the body if he, you know, absolutely necessary. Throw a couple little kicks. He just doesn't do a whole lot. And the Ritter's going to come out there and he's going to be active, man. He's going to be active. And he's going to be looking to, you know, get this one down to the mat. And Kev doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, or doesn't try the hardest to defend takedowns for the most part, because he's confident in his abilities off of his back, where I think he's going to spend a lot of this match, if I'm being honest. You understand what I'm saying to you? I think De Ritter's going to win this one via, you know, unanimous decision. Maybe he finds the finish via submission, but I think De Ritter's gonna win this one, man. And De Ritter, that's gonna be the third dog, because Keb's a minus 117 when I did this. The Ritter was a minus 107. So I don't know what that looked like now. But, you know, the Ritter's the pick, man. You know what I mean? Let's get spicy. We got rank number 9, Beneil Dariush, taking on rank number 7, Money Moicano. And I know a lot of motherfuckers are loving them some Money Moicano right now. You know, he definitely has that steam. He definitely has that steam. You know, he's definitely on a little tear. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I think it deserves to be talked about. You know what I mean? Beneil Dariush, currently ranked number 9, currently a plus 165 underdog. Renato Money Moicano, currently ranked number 7, currently a minus 210 favorite. I wrote these lines down earlier, like I said, with the minus 1,000 to 1,450. That was a big jump, but everybody's probably parlaying him up. So some of these money lines are probably a bit different. My bad. But let's talk about it, because Renato Money Moicano is on a, what is he on, a 1, 2, 3, 4 fight win streak. You know what I mean? He's on a 4 fight win streak, and let's talk about them 4 fights. Brad Riddell, Drew Dober, Womp Womp, Jalen Turner. Here's what it is. That was a gift, but it is what it is. He was the better man that night. He capitalized where Jalen didn't. So, Jalen Turner and Benoit Saint Denis, man. You know, we can't read too much in to the Benoit Saint Denis. I think Jalen Turner's the best win on there. You know what I mean? Benoit Saint Denis is dangerous, you know. He's a fucking wild man. You know what I'm talking about? He's gonna come out there and try to fucking end the fight. You know. Who was it? Bonfim? One of the Bonfim boys, he took an O from him or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, and kind of shook some things up. So, like, he has his moments, but he's reckless. He's aggressive and reckless in his approach. There's holes, there's openings that can be exploited, as has been seen when placed, you know, against the proper level of opposition. So Money Moicano, he's on a 4 fight win streak, man. He beat Brad Riddell, Drew Dober, Jalen Turner, and Benoit Saint Denis. I'll say it again. He's on a 4 fight win streak where he beat Brad Riddell, Drew Dober, Jalen Turner, and Benoit Saint Denis. Beneil Dariush is on a 2 fight skid. Is this why everybody's down on him? Because prior to that 2 fight skid, they're both the same age. Relatively the same reach, around the same height. Like, there's no significant difference in the height, in the reach, in the age, in you know, there's some difference in the level of opposition that they've been competing against, but there's no significant difference outside of that. If I'm not mistaken, they're both like 35 years old. They both right there in the same place of their careers. You understand what I'm saying to you? And you know, they're both fighting to continue to make that run towards possible title contention. But they're both right around the same height. I think exactly the same height with just about exactly the same reach. They might be off about a half of a motherfucking inch in reach. So you have the same age, the same height, essentially the same reach, if I'm not mistaken. And one's on a 4 fight win streak over Brad Riddell, Drew Dober, Jalen Turner, and Benoit Saint Denis. And one's on a 2 fight skid. That 2 fight skid is to Charles Oliveira, the former champion, and Arman Tsarukyan, who's fighting the champion later on up the card, and gave the champion his most highly competitive and closely contested matchup as of yet. All right? Those are his 2 losses. That's his skid. He made it up there to that title contention, and it was like, you know, Charles Oliveira got the best of him, and Arman Tsarukyan got the best of him to put him in the positions that he's in right now to fight Islam Makhachev again for the gold. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? But prior to that 2 fight skid, he was on an 8 fight win streak. You know what I mean? Hanato started his 4-fight win streak with Brad Riddell, Drew Dober, Jalen Turner, and Benoit Saint Denis, and now he's got to get through Beneil Dariush to continue that motherfucking route. You understand what I'm saying to you? Well, Beneil Dariush started his 8-fight win streak over Thiago Moises, and then Drew Dober as well. And he got Frank Camacho out there, and Jakar Close. Then Scott Holtzman, just like Frank Camacho, we could do without that. But then there's Diego Ferreira. And then Tony Ferguson, we could put Tony Ferguson with Frank Camacho and Scott Holtzman, put them over there. But he still got Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, Jakar Close, Diego Ferreira, and then Mateusz Gamrot out of there. And Mateusz Gamrot beat Arman Tsarukyan, who's currently fighting Islam Makhachev for the title. One thing has nothing to do with the other, but it is all worth consideration in my personal opinion. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? This man's on a 4-fight win streak because he beat Brad Riddell, Drew Dober, Jalen Turner, and Benoit Saint Denis. Now he's got to fight Beneil Dariush, who was on an 8-fight win streak. Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, Frank, Jakar Close, Scott, Diego Ferreira, Tona, and Mateusz Gamrot. By far a better fucking win than anything on Hanato's resume, and the Thiago Moises and the Diego Ferreira. I mean, like, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. And then he lost to Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. What the fuck do you think Charles Oliveira does to Renato Moicano? What do you think Arman Tsarukyan does to Renato Moicano? For that case, what do you think Mateusz Gamrot might do to Renato Moicano? What do you think some of these other individuals up there are going to do to Renato Moicano? Renato Moicano, as much as you like him and as much as I like him and as much as we like his post-fight speeches and all that money talk and his podcast and all this, that, and the third, every fucking thing in between, I think we all know he's not going to be champion. Renato Moicano's not coming up through the motherfucker, you know, and knocking off everybody there is to knock off still en route to motherfucking Arman Tsarukyan and motherfucking Islam Makhachev. Like, this run is going to come to a halt, much like Beneil Dariush's 8-fight run came to a halt. They're in the same places in their career. They're both right there in their prime time. Does a prime time Renato Moicano just run through a primetime Beneil Dariush, who Mateusz Gamrot couldn't run through? Thiago Moises, Diego Ferreira, Jakar Close, none of them could run through. The only ones that could get it done was Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. You know, I kept saying Brad Riddell, Drew Dober, Jalen, and Benoit Saint Denis, because that's a 4-fight win streak. And yeah, Drew Dober's over here in his 8-fight win streak. But you could take Brad Riddell, Drew Dober, honestly, and they can go with Drew Dober, Frank, and Scott Holtzman, and even Tony Ferguson at this stage of his career. But the Jalen Turner and the BSD, you could put them with Diego Ferreira and Jakar Close. But I think Thiago Moises and Mateusz Gamrot are both better wins than that. You understand what I'm saying to you? One thing has nothing to do with the other, but it's all worth consideration, man. Beneil Dariush is, they've both been finished inside the distance, and they both lost via decision. I personally believe Beneil Dariush to be more durable out of the two, though. You know what I'm talking about? We watched Renato Moicano get cracked by Jalen Turner and go back. Some refs would have stopped it. That ref didn't. Rightfully so. He got back up and did what he needed to do to secure the victory. Beneil drops him. It's not going down the same way. If he gets into a, exchange with Beneil like that, Beneil can fucking crack, and he hits hard, and he can take it. I can't say all the same things about Renato Moicano. He's very solid. He's very well-rounded. He's proven that he can be dangerous up against a certain level of opposition, but he's also proven that he can't really take it the way he gives it when a motherfucker shows that resistance. You understand what I'm saying to you? And yeah, like I said, they both been finished. But look at just look at the body of work produced, man, by both of these individuals. Go back and watch everything that you need to watch. And I'm talking about, don't just look and say, oh, he's on a 2-fight skid, he's on a 4-fight win, the momentum's with him, this, that, and the motherfucking third. It's very, it's a very different level of opposition that he's getting those 4 wins, as opposed to when he gets this win over Beneil Dariush. If he's able to get this win over Beneil Dariush, that opens up a motherfucking door to the murder's row. You understand what I'm saying to you? That opens up the door to that top of the motherfucking heap where I just don't believe Moicano's going to fucking fare too well anyway. So where does he go with the win over Beneil Dariush? You know what I'm talking about? To be determined, man. I took too much time on this one. Obviously, Beneil's the pick for me. You know what I'm talking about? I like Beneil as a dog, man, and I'm gonna rock with him. You know, one might look at him and see the grays in his motherfucking hair, and you know, see the way he just kind of stands there looking like a, you know, somebody's fucking English teacher or something. You know what I mean? On the fucking beach somewhere on vacation, and you look at Money Moicano, you know, he just look a bit more, you know, ready to rock, or a little bit more like somebody you want to get behind in this matchup. They the same age. They around the same height with the same reach, man. They both been in this motherfucking UFC for a grip. They both OGs, man. You know what I'm talking about? One of them, I just believe, you know, to be just a bit better, a bit more durable. And I might be wrong. I might be all the way wrong. Maybe Money Moicano comes out there and shows me, you know, that he's elevated to levels that I'm just not able to accept right now. You know what I mean? And beats the fucking brakes off of Beneil. But I'll take the L with him. You know what I mean? Will I be properly prepared for being on the wrong side of this pick as far as parlay placement is concerned? Yes, the fuck I will, because I got action on this fight. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. For the main card parlays and for some whole card parlays, I will have action on this fight, so the swap out option will be applied. You know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna upload the parlay video for this fight card tomorrow. Prelim parlays, main card parlays, whole card parlays, you know, haymakers, Hail Marys, all's favorites, swap out options, dog plays, everything in between. I'm gonna do my absolute best is to cover absolutely everything for y'all and leave no stone unturned. Ain't that how they say that shit? Talk about it. Beneil's the pick though, man. So you know, it is what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4 dogs. And I'm not done. I'm not done. Am I rocking with motherfucking Aylin, man? I'm rocking with this motherfucking girl, man. I really don't want to rock with this motherfucking girl, Aylin Perez, man. It's gonna cost me, ain't it? It's gonna cost me, ain't it? It's gonna cost me, ain't it, man? That shit gonna cost me, ain't it? I don't want to rock with her, man. Yuri, moving forward, man. We got Yuri, man. Rank number 3, taking on Jamal. Rank number 4. This is gonna be a good fucking fight. This is gonna be a good fucking fight, man. And I know one thing has nothing to do with the other, but you already know. It's all worth consideration, in my personal opinion. You know what I'm talking about? And they have they have some opponents, one in particular, in common, in Glover Textera. You know what I'm talking about? And, you know, Yuri, he was able to find the finish, in the last minutes. So that is the difference as far as that's concerned. But up until then, let's talk about it, man. Yuri, in his 5-round fight with Glover, who I have the utmost respect for. You know what I mean? That's why we using him. Yuri, he went 157 out of 245 on his strikes, 120 out of 205 on his significant, 0 for 0 on takedowns. He allowed Glover to go 159 out of 212, 111 out of 161, and 5 out of 17. So Yuri was 157 out of 245. You know what I mean? He held Glover 5 out of 17 on the takedowns. Jamal Jamal fought Glover 5 rounds. Jamal went 249 out of 419 on strikes. 232 out of 402 on significant strikes. That 232 significant strikes is already, significantly more than 157 regular strikes Yuri was able to land. He held Glover to 2 out of 17 on takedowns. Glover attempted 17 takedowns on him as well, and Jamal was able to hold him to 2 of those. Outstruck him 249 to 419. 232 on significant to 402. Yuri did 157 out of 240. One thing has nothing to do with the other, but it's all worth consideration. I believe the volume and the activity is going to be on the side of Jamal. Yuri, the reason I sided with Yuri when he fought Alexander Retchik is because Yuri has a weird way of, putting you into the kind of fight that you might not necessarily want to be in. You understand what I'm saying to you? And when that happens and all those awkward shots start going off, more times than not, he's the one left standing. Unless you're a bit more of a technical practitioner and won't allow yourself to get, drug into that kind of a fight with him. I think Jamal's going to walk him down. I think Jamal's going to put some work on him. I don't think Jamal's going to allow him the space that he needs to create the kind of sequences that he likes to create. You understand what I'm saying to you? To be able to get off what he likes to get off. I'm rocking with Jamal, man. I'm rocking with Jamal. I know folk ain't high on Jamal, man. But come on, man. Come on, man. This motherfucker, he fought who he needed to fight in this division. You know what I'm talking about? And even when Paul Craig snapped his shit, that motherfucker, that's the whole reason I took him when he fought Jimmy Crute in the next one. To fucking knock Jimmy Crute bitch ass out, because Jimmy Crute was giving up in the fight prior to when he lost. Where motherfucking Jamal, man, Jamal shit was just snapped and in the limbs, and he was still beating the brakes off of old boy, trying to get the ground and pound off for the finish in his own right before the motherfucker, before they stopped the fight because the shit being snapped. Like, Jamal got some dog in him. You know what I'm talking about? And Alex got him. Alex got Yuri twice. So what we talking about? You know what I mean? I don't know that this one's going to be highly competitive and closely contested, man. I think Jamal's going to find his motherfucking chin and put him down. You know what I'm talking about? Put him down. Give me Jamal, man. And currently, Jamal's a minus 105 to Yuri's minus 118. So, Jamal's the dog. You know what I'm talking about? God, this A-Lim pick is killing me, man. This A-Lim pick is killing me. Anyway, I'm gonna come back down to that in a minute. Merab and Umar. Merab's currently a plus 250, man. Umar's a minus 335. And this one hurts. This one hurts, my God. Got that wedding cake OG. I gotta light that thing up real time. Light it up real quick one time, yo. My bad. This one hurts, man. This one gave me a fucking headache. This one's giving me a fucking headache right now. This one's giving me a headache right now. You know what I'm talking about? Because let's talk about it real quick. My bad, y'all. My bad, y'all. Let's talk about this motherfucker real quick. You know what I mean? Merab Dvalishvili, the current bantamweight champion of the world. Umar Nurmagomedov, currently ranked number 3 bantamweight contender in the world. My bad. And let's just talk about it real quick for what it's worth. Again, one thing has nothing to do with the other. It's just all worth consideration. In my personal opinion, you can hear this shit crinkling around. I'm an old head, OG shit. I be writing everything the fuck down. You know what I'm talking about? Fuck all them dumbass screens in my face and shit. It's the only screen I need in my motherfucking face right now. You figure, deal me? All right, let's talk about it, man. Now, I know this is, this is kind of, somebody might want to say that this is kind of reaching. You know what I'm talking about? And maybe it is. Maybe I'm fucking reaching. I'm all right with it. Just is what it is, man. But I could get it, though. If somebody wants to say I'm reaching for this shit right here, I could dig it. I could dig it. You know what I mean? But, let's talk about it real quick. What does Umar look like in 5 rounds? What does Merab look like in 5 rounds? You know what I'm talking about? Like, what does 5 rounds with Merab look like compared to what does 5 rounds with Umar Nurmagomedov look like? And the only way that I, myself, personally, could try to, like, get the best read on that, you know what I mean, was like this. Some of y'all might fuck with me. Some of y'all might want to fuck with me in the comments because of it. You know what I'm talking about? But that's what this is for. You know what I mean? What the fuck would I look like if I was doing everything everybody else was doing, man? You know what I mean? I'd have been on the wrong side of motherfucking Puna, Christian, and motherfucking Philippe if I did what everybody else do. Nah, fuck that, man. I picked 4 dogs to bark and 3 of them barked, 1 of them didn't. What if that 4th one barked? You feel me? Like, sometimes it go like that, sometimes it don't. That's how the ball bounces and the cookie crumbles. But this is my bad. I'm going off. This is how I came up with what I came up with. This is the best way I could do it because these is the only similar-esque type of situations. You know what I mean? Hopefully I ain't lose y'all yet. Let's go ahead and dive into it. So, this comparison is where some of y'all might fuck with me and some of y'all might not. You know what I mean? When I look at the resume of Merab, and especially as of late where they're at in their careers right now, you know what I'm talking about? And I look at the resume of Umar Nurmagomedov, same thing applied, right? I have to say to myself, man, well, the closest fight, that these motherfuckers have is very similar and in common. We got Sean O'Malley versus Merab. Know what I'm talking about? And then the only motherfucker that I could really find is similar-esque, familiar, you know what I mean? As far as the way Sean O'Malley, I'm not trying to disrespect either one of these young men. I just see similarities in them, in their frames, and in the way that they, implement their games. The closest comparisons that I could find as far as who they fought was when Merab fought Sean O'Malley and Umar fought Corey Sandhagen. You know what I'm talking about? Corey can move, man. Corey nice on the feet. Corey nice with the strikes. He got, good diversity. A lot of tools in the tool set. Very solid, very well-rounded. He's working on his ground game. He's trying to fill in them holes like Corey Sandhagen, to me anyway. Like, Corey's not Sean and Sean's not Corey, but they fucking, as far as who they fought, this is the most similar opponent as far as styles, you know what I mean, that they had to prepare for and the way that they was going to go after these individuals. You know what I'm talking about? As far as trying to stall out their game, give them the space that they need to breathe and be able to, get comfortable and find their groove and implement their game the way that they like to. Sean O'Malley from Merab, Corey Sandhagen for Umar. Now, one thing has nothing to do with the other. I may have lost some of y'all already. It all has, It's all worth consideration, though. 5 rounds with Umar against somebody like Corey Sandhagen. He went 123 out of 219 strikes, 98 out of 178, 187 significant strikes, 5 out of 13 on the takedowns. You know what I mean? Kept him to, 80 out of 172, 71 out of 159, and 0 for 2 on takedowns. But Umar, and everybody was very impressed with Umar that night, myself included. I picked him. He did the 1-2, and his 1-2 looked just like that. 123 out of 219, 98 out of 187, and 5 out of 13. Very respectable work. Handled his business. Now, when Merab fought Sean for 5 rounds, somebody who, it's about a similar type of situation that we could get as far as fight styles and how we going to prepare and how we going to go about attacking this, right? He went 214 out of 310. Umar only threw 219. He landed in 123. He threw 310 and landed 214. So he landed 5 less than what this dude threw. He landed 96 or something more than what he threw. You know what I'm talking about? His significant strikes at 82 out of 164, and he went 6 out of 15 on the takedowns. I only say that to say that the activity is going to be on Merab's side. Umar could very easily find himself behind very fucking quickly on the cards going into the championship rounds and need a finish. You understand what I'm saying to you? That is just a fucking fact. You know what I mean? Merab Dvalishvili is not out of his prime. Now, like this situation, when we talk about the wrestling, let's talk about the wrestling, man. Let's talk about the wrestling. Umar talked about it. He said, how does he beat me? Does he beat me by wrestling? Do we not remember I can wrestle too? Henry Cejudo can wrestle. Wrestle, grappling, Greco-Roman wrestling, it's all very fucking different. All of it implemented into MMA is very fucking different. I get it. But it's all worth consideration. Henry Cejudo was a gold fucking medalist in wrestling. And Merab Dvalishvili held him 1 out of 7. Henry Cejudo does not know what it's like to go 1 out of 7 on takedown attempts ever in his life until he stepped in a cage with Merab Dvalishvili, and Merab Dvalishvili went 5 out of 11 on that gold medalist wrestler because it was a situation where motherfuckers thought he was going to have problem implementing the wrestling. When people think Merab is going to have a problem implementing that part of his game, which is his game, he seems to take it to another level with those individuals. You know what I mean? Oh, I can't. That's how you feel, Triple C. You fitting to go 1 for 7, while I go 5 for 11 and outstrike you, 2.5 to 1. And then they put him against, when they had him in there with Piotr Yan, that was another one. Very respectable takedown defense based off of their physicalities, their physical frames, and the way that they matched up. People didn't think that Merab was going to be able to get off on Piotr Yan the way that he gets off on everybody else neither. So he said, okay, that's how you feel. I'm going to go 202 out of 401 on my strikes, 147 out of 338 on my significant, and 11 out of 49. I'm going to really just fucking go ham. I might not get them all, but that activity and that dragging out and that chaining together and all that motherfucking shit that I'm going through is going to produce this, and it's going to hold you to relatively low numbers that just don't mean shit at the end of the day. This is my dub. Merab's activity. Merab's pressure. Merab doesn't hit hard. Merab, that all those strikes, like you like, damn, he's really landing that many strikes because his opponents don't look so so much worse for the wear, and they don't look like they wearing the damage all crazy and this, that, and the third. But that's just because, he out there like a Diaz brother mixed with Clay Guida. You know what I'm talking about? Just, he's like all over the fucking place. You know what I mean? Like a mixture of Nate Diaz and Clay Guida and just better, cleaner entries in boxing. You know what I mean? It's the activity for me, man. And it's the fact that he's not past his prime. You know what I mean? I used to, when this shit first got announced, man, and they first started talking about fighting each other, I was kind of down on the situation, man, because I looked at it kind of like, Tony Ferguson. Much like Merab, Tony was on like an 11-fight win streak. He should have been captured the gold, got after the gold, but Khabib got it, or Nurmagomedov got it, and that fight got canceled 5 times. And all those years later, after all those cancellations, now Tony just don't got it no more. Now it's over, and he's never gonna have that gold, and his best days are far behind him. And it's like Merab's on a fucking, how many fight win streak right now? And it's, he finally gets the gold because Aljo, goes to the other division after losing the gold. He goes and gets that dub back, gets the gold from the boy that took it from his homie. Now he's got the gold to hold his strap down, and here's a fucking Nurmagomedov coming undefeated. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, man, it can't be one of them Tony situations, can it? Where he just had this crazy undefeated streak, but just was kind of just dancing around title contention because the homie was holding the title. Now, that wasn't Tony's reason, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying that was his reason for going on this long streak. And now here he is, and he's got to defend it the first time to a Nurmagomedov who's undefeated. And Nurmagomedov's going to come in there and take it from him. And then that's it. That's just it. It's a wrap. It's over for him. He's never going to get it back. You know what I mean? I don't want to see it like that. I don't think it's going to be like that, man. I don't think Umar is Usman or Khabib. I think he's going to taste defeat. He's already tasting defeat over in these grappling competitions. It's not like he's just out here winning. You know what I'm talking about, and doing his 1-2 and doesn't know what it's like to lose. He knows what it's like to lose, and I think there's going to be a 1 place next to his name, possibly on Saturday, just like Islam, man. You know what I'm talking about? It just is what it is, man. I don't think Merab's done. I don't think Umar's the one. You know what I mean? I think Umar has to win this fight via finding the finish inside the distance, whether that's catching, clipping, and disconnecting him from his consciousness, catching, clipping, and hopping on him for the club and sub type situation, or catching him when he's coming in from one of them takedown entrances and snatching up a submission because he's very vicious in the submission department. And, a lot of people look back and think, oh, well, Ricky Simone submitted Merab Dvalishvili. Why can't Umar Nurmagomedov? Well, that bum that knocked out Islam Makhachev, why can't Arman Sarukian, and why hasn't anybody else in all these umpteen fights since then? Well, that's how I feel about Merab. Merab took the loss back to back. But what's happened since then? Absolutely nothing. Even when he's got cracked, he's found a way to come back and keep that win streak going and just keep it pushing. You understand what I'm saying to you? Like, I don't think it's over for him. You know what I mean? And I'm going to rock with him. And that's going to be my final dog on this card after all that, y'all. My bad. Merab is the pick. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm sticking with that shit, man. Because I think, and it's possible for Umar to find his submission. But as much as it's possible for Umar to find his submission, since Ricky Simone found his submission like 12 or 13 fights ago, that's how possible it is for Arman to find a knockout, just like old boy found a knockout 14 or however many fights ago. You understand what I'm saying to you? One thing has nothing to do with the other, but it's all worth consideration. Well, we can't pick and choose where we decide we want to place these wild ass cases that we're making for individuals. Merab can get submitted because he got submitted 12 or 13 fights ago. He hasn't lost since then, but he can get submitted. Well, Islam can get knocked the fuck out. He ain't been knocked out for 14 or 15 fights, but he can still get knocked out because he's been knocked out, right? Like, he's proven that to us. No matter how long ago it was, nobody wants to get behind that. Oh, no, Islam's filled in that hole. He won't make that same mistake again. He's not going to let that happen again. But Merab, he will. He'll go out there and let Umar submit him 13 fights later after he's filled in all those holes and, woo, 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 woo. It's crazy how, you make a case for one based off of the same shit that you could make a case for the other on, but you won't make that case for the other because you just don't want it to be true. We ain't doing it like that over here. We in a doghouse, man. What would we look like if we didn't take some of these dogs, man? And what the fuck would we all have to talk about all week long? What would y'all chop in and give me shit about if I was on the same side as everybody else? You know what I'm talking about? Merab's the pick, man. And still, that ranked number 3 bantamweight in the world is going to remain just like the ranked number 3 lightweight in the world, Arman, in my personal opinion. The pick is Islam, man. I personally believe Islam to be, like a John Jones in the fact, calm down everybody, don't go crazy. Like John Jones in the sense that okay, I fought you. That fight has just, the talk about that fight has been nothing but how it was the most highly competitive and closely contested fight in my career. I haven't been in a fight that close before, and I haven't been in a fight that close since. That's how everybody feels. Okay, cool. Step in here with me one more time. Boop, bow, bip. Now watch me finish you inside the distance and dead all that shit. You know what I mean? That's John Jones. Like, that shit with Gus, that shit was close. That second one, not a chance. That shit with Cormier, they first one, they went to cars. He squabbled with him. That second one, head kicked him, hammer fisted him. You know what I mean? Regardless of how anybody feels about it. And if they gave him a second run with Dominic Reyes, I personally believe he would have got him out of there inside the distance with the quickness as well. I feel like Islam is like that. I feel like Islam is going to find the finish on Armin this go around somewhere inside the distance, man. And it might be with the quickness. You know, he might catch him and clip him and then sub him. You know, I don't necessarily know how it's going to go down, but I think he's going to catch him this go around. And he's going to finish him. And he's just going to dead all them questions. You know, he went back to the drawing board for real. You know, and filled in all those holes, watched it over and over and over and over until it was embedded in his motherfucking head and he just couldn't take it anymore, and he went and he fixed it. You know what I mean? And he's gonna go out there and prove that shit. So it is what it is, man. That's that with that. You know, something like nothing major an hour and 26 minutes later. You know what I'm talking about? But let's run through it real quick from bottom to top. One more again. We got Tagir over Clayton. And we got Sopaj over Ricky. We got Arinya over Ewan. And we got A-Lin over Carroll. We have Grant over Diego and Zach over Cedricus. We have Sergey over Jay Alton and Peyton over Hayoni. Bogdan over Billy and DeRitter over Kevin. Benil over Hanato and Jamal over Yuri. Give me Marab over Umar and Islam over Armin. And I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Peace and blessings.